Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. I understand that I'm the last speaker, so I will try to be very straightforward. At the same time, I hope to be able to provide you really with the important information of the forthcoming presidency of Bulgaria, which is already ahead of us in a few days, I might say. Bulgaria is taking over the presidency of the Council of the European Union as of 1st of January next year till 1st of July. And I'm glad of having here our successor, Austria, after us in our trio. We are taking over now from Estonia, and we will hand over to Austria. We have adopted our trio agenda already in June, earlier in June this year, looking in the perspective of our 18 months of joint work, focusing on the main challenges of Europe and of the European Union agenda. However, while we were developing our Bulgarian specific program and specific priorities for the presidency of our country, we were thinking and we were analyzing what should be the key point, the key priority, the one important message which is to be given, and for what Bulgaria should be remembered. Because we are a country of the last accessions. I'm sorry. A country, as a member state, we acceded the European Union 10 years ago. And so on our 10th year of our accession, we are really proud and really taking it very seriously, the forthcoming presidency of the Council, because we understand that the Europe at the moment is faced with a lot of challenges, a lot of turbulences, a lot of important decisions to be taken. And as it was obvious from the previous speaker and speakers, we have a lot of topics of discussions in Europe where we are not, all of us member countries, at the same opinion. There are, I should say, 5 key areas where in the next 6 or 12 months, in 2018, we will have to be very much concentrated on achieving results and achieving really common positions. The first and the most important one is, of course, the peace and stability in Europe, security in Europe, and deciding on the specific point of migration problems, the asylum seeker systems, and the regulations related, the so-called Dublin regulation on the relocation of the migrants, based on the principle of the solidarity between the countries, for which we do have at the moment quite an opposite opinions of some of the countries, as it was mentioned by my Austrian colleague already. Second important debate for the forthcoming 12 months maybe, I hope that we will solve it within our 2 presidency, Bulgarian and Austrian one, at least this is the debate on Brexit. How we complete the negotiations on the divorce, if I may say so, with the United Kingdom. And this is our challenge for our presidency as well, to keep the unity of the 27 while negotiated with our British partners and colleagues, because we do have, each of our countries, excellent bilateral cooperation and on one side, but on the other side, in order to have clear distinction and clear protection of the rights of the citizens, both European citizens living, studying in UK, and vice versa, UK people living, studying, working in the European Union countries. The third challenge in front of us in the months to come is the debate on the future of Europe. What Europe we would like to live in, what is our Europe we would like to have for our children, how Europe should be structured, reformed, as we call it the New Europe Initiative after 2020, along with the debate on the future of the future budget of the European Union, so-called multi-annual financial framework post-2020, because the starting point of our discussions, which we will initiate already in the beginning of January this year, because we expect the proposal of the next budget for the European Union, next multi-annual financial framework, to be proposed already in May this year. So a very specific, concentrated debate should take place in the months to come, in order to agree what and how we form our budget. Because the biggest challenge for us is to find the right balance between the traditional policies of the EU, policies like cohesion policy, really one of the key policies, investing in minimizing the discrepancies between the regions in Europe, in common agricultural policies and other traditional policies, versus new challenges and new policies which Europe is facing and which we all European countries agreed. And these are the development country support, stability fund, fund for Africa, external dimension, external actions, and neighborhood policy as funding mechanisms to be agreed, to be taken on board, and to have special position in the financial framework of the future budget. At the same time, we are facing significant gaps in our budget. Based on Brexit, we have approximately minus 10 to 15 billion euro on an annual base gap in the common budget of the EU. The new challenges, as we call them, the funds for security, stability, and funds for Africa and other countries, are calculated at approximate amount of minus 10 to 11 billion euro on annual basis, which means that the starting point is something like minus 21 billion on annual basis, where we need to see how we allocate them better. So this is quite a big challenge for all of us in the months to come, in order to end up by end of May with a proposal of the next multi-annual financial framework. A new challenge is in our hands based on yesterday's decision and the proposal by the European Commission, which is now in our hands, in the hands of the Presidency of the Council to discuss and to agree, is the proposal of the European Commission on Poland and activation of Article 7 of the treaty, based on the concern of the rule of law proceedings in Poland. So this is another new challenge which we do have in our hands on how to decide, how to agree, because again we do have the different positions of the countries within EU, sometimes rather contradictory ones, whether and how we have to proceed. Based on all those challenges, we say, and we have come to the conclusion that, and we call them, these are the three S. What Europe needs more security, more solidarity, and more stability. These are the three S, we call them, with the needs of Europe and Europeans on one side. The only way we can work on providing those, it is first of all starting with working for more cohesion, more competitiveness, and last but not least, this is maybe the most important C, the three Cs we have in order to cover the three S, is to having more consensus. Consensus is the key word. I think it's worth mentioning for our next 6 to 12 months to come, finding consensus or compromise in order to keep the unity, to keep stability, and having our European project really working for the citizens of Europe and being strong on the global scene, because Europe needs to be really strong, acting as a global actor. As we see a lot of challenging United States, China developments, and global, let's say, trends are really worrying sometimes. The motto of the Bulgarian presidency, the key message we would like to say, is united we stand strong. We believe this is a message which really addresses the needs, and this is the key message to be conveyed to all, not only member states of the European Union, but as well to other countries around us, which are the Western Balkan countries. Because in order to have successful economic development, to have stability and security, to have really to provide results and really to deliver to our citizens, we need to work for strong, stable, and digital Europe. So this is the most important message to be conveyed, and this is how we focus on our presidency and our priorities within the presidency. So the key priority for us is the European perspective and the connectivity of the Western Balkan countries. This is the key message we would like to give within the Bulgarian presidency, because we are a country from the Balkans. Balkans should not be perceived anymore as something negative, as a part of Europe which is always been somewhere behind, less developed region, but a region with a great potential, a region where we do have 6 countries, even though we have some difference, they have some difference between them. They are our European project. European Union is not a completed project without our neighbors, our friends in the Balkans being part of this project. Their integration in the years to come will provide opportunity for the economic development of Europe as such. And this is the best way to work for security, peace, and stability in Europe, because if we don't have peace and stability in the Balkans, in the Western Balkans, then we might endanger the stability and security of Europe. It is important to mention that for Bulgaria, it is a strategic question as well, relations between Europe and Turkey. Turkey is our border. We have our border with Turkey. We have excellent cooperation and relations with Turkey. Based on that cooperation and support we do have, this is Turkey for Bulgaria is a strategic partner in our economic development, in our security, and in our cultural development as well. For many years we've been living together, and I think we provide excellent example on how relations between Bulgaria and Turkey could be multiplied to be relations between EU and Turkey, because based on our strong cooperation and support, and we are grateful for all the efforts Turkey is doing on their borders, because based of the fulfillment of the government of Turkey security on the border, and Bulgaria is an external border of the European Union, and we have no threat in our border anymore. We do protect our external border of the European Union as the best possible way. We have zero flow, 0% of illegal migrants proceeding through Bulgaria-Turkey border, for which we are grateful to the cooperation and support from the government of Turkey and the border control. However, this is something we need to further extend as a cooperation between the European Union and Turkey as well. So these are the main dimensions from the perspective of our challenges and our priorities in the months to come. Otherwise, following the global EU agenda, following the trio agenda with Estonia and Austria, we have taken over from our Estonian colleagues already a significant number of files and dossiers and legislation on which we will focus our efforts. We have more than 120 legal legislation proposals already in our offices. We will be working on in the months to come, and we will try to work very hard to complete at least 1/3 of them successfully, and then we will hand them over to our Estonian colleagues. For that purpose, we have identified, in addition to the main priority of the European integration and the connectivity of the Western Balkan countries to the European Union, we have identified another 3 priorities. So we have altogether 4 priorities for the Bulgarian presidency of the Council for the next month. So the first was the Western Balkans. The second one is the Future of Europe debate and the debate on the multi-annual financial framework, which I have already mentioned. The third priority is security and stability, where we would like to focus very much the attention of the leaders, because it is now the decision of the leaders of Europe on how we decide the issue on relocation of migrants and the issue on how we reach an agreement or a consensus on Dublin regulation. This is the biggest question mark we had in front of us, because we believe that on one side Europe has to protect at 100% checks and in a very strong and efficient way its external borders, but at the same time we shall not build borders between us, between the European countries. And this is something as a starting point on which we have to discuss. At the same time, we as a country, being in the front line with the refugees, we are at the strong position that more efforts have to be, and funding have to be invested outside the EU in order to provide funding and support and to keep the refugee flow at the countries of origin, to return the refugees back, rather than working on or trying to reallocate more and more between the different countries, because as we might see, already 4 presidencies were working on this reallocation question, and still it is not on, there is no opportunity to reach a consensus. And the last priority, very important as well, it is the economic development and the digital single market becoming real functional. This is a priority where we would like to focus our efforts on the digital single market, digital economy, digital skills development, skills of the 21st century, because at the end of the day, we have the European Union focused and having its values not only to be an important tool for the economic development of the single market we have established. In order to provide that, we need to focus our efforts in digital economy, in social innovations, and the other dimension of the economic development and growth. So these are the 3 dimensions, all the priorities we would like to focus our efforts. Along with that, of course, it is the cultural dimension, the cultural diplomacy, which we would like as well to use as our communication strategy within the presidency. Why? Because, as it was mentioned by the previous speaker, culture and diplomacy are a really important part of our integrity, of our cooperation, the culture is really an important tool for keeping our European identity. At the same time, it was decided, as you might be aware, that with the decision of the European Parliament, 2018 is our year of European cultural heritage. This year, the launch of the European Cultural Heritage Year will be done in Sofia, in Bulgaria, with the opening of the Bulgarian Presidency, which will be held on the 11th of January in Sofia. So this is another great opportunity, first for our country, being a country of rich cultural heritage. It is not well known, but we as a country, we are 13 in Europe after Rome and Greece of having and of richness of our cultural artifacts. So this is a great opportunity for us as a country to show and to present our rich cultural heritage. And at the same time, this is again to work in cooperation with all our European countries and the countries of the Western Balkans and our friends and neighbors to present the cultural heritage of Europe, and then really to this cultural heritage to play a significant and important role of really connecting the citizens and promoting the European identity. With that, I would like to conclude. I really thank you for your attention, and I would like to invite you all to see our exhibition. We have a very interesting pictures, photographs of a Bulgarian-American photographer who made a special exhibition. We would like to present his exhibition of photos of Christu, Bulgarian famous artist, of his piers, how we call it, floating piers collection, which were photographed by our great photographer Kalin, and you will be able to see them with a glass of wine as a kind of a cultural event just in the few days before we launched the Bulgarian presidency of the Council. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Minister Pavlova, for her presentation and for the encouraging perspective she gave us on the European Union and the priorities of the Bulgarian presidency, particularly as far as the external security is concerned and as relations with Turkey are concerned. We have got a few minutes for questions and answers. If there is wish, please.
Yes, Dr. Ramsey, perhaps I can say I'm representing the United Kingdom, nobody else is here. I do work with the government and of course advising the government and advising the MOD Minister of Defense time to time. Very small person. However, that was excellent, of course, very informative speech. What I would like to be very critical to get some answer. Otherwise, we don't get answer. I'm part of Oxford University. We're teaching our students to be critical. Now, what we have here, of course, Madam, you spoke about security, refugee, and stability. Now, on security and refugee, wasn't our fault. Basically, became a United Kingdom with the 2 million people went for demonstration. Don't go to Iraq because you bring your ISIS. You bring your security in the country around the world. And we went and we had the situation. And we said, of course, don't go to Libya, don't go to Syria. I was part of the advising the government, don't go to Syria because we bring in refugees. And we done. This is our fault. We could use the cultural diplomacy instead of the hard power. And of course, we come into a divorce of me and you. Yeah, I'm talking about yes. Why should I pay 318 million pounds to you? I'm talking about the euro and that's it. Why should I 300 pounds a week to you for what? I can build everything myself. And of course, why should I pay 100 million, 70 million, 80 million for the divorce, which we haven't got, of course, because it's come from my pocket. With all respect, I vote for the stay in, but of course I go with the respect of whole country which they want. Can you tell me, please, couldn't we use at the moment you are trying to, with all respect, when is a man and woman get together and a lawyer come and really scrutinize, really destroy the man, really destroy the person, for example. Why are you doing that? You don't use a soft power. You are trying to hold us there, trying to hold us there. We are going to do that, we are going to do that. If you go is wrong, why? It is a right of the British people, very democratic country, to use this way, and we respect. All respecting that, why the Europe does not respect, and let us go in the way which we can after come together, perhaps the decision of the border, the security, or this sort of thing. Thank you, if you can answer to some of this.
Thank you for all your questions. I will start with the last question. You are free to go. It is really your democratic right and a decision to go. Of course, while deciding to go out of a project or of a union, there are single legal matters to be clarified, and we need to find the best way to protect both interests of our citizens and your citizens. And of course, every divorce costs something, and we need to find the best way for two sides, because now UK, while living the single market and being part of the single market, it is of benefit of the UK economy as well, the possibility to be part of the common single economic union we are in. So while being part of that, of course, there is a price to be paid on both sides, we might say. So now the first step was the phase 1 of the negotiations, was successful one, and I hope in the forthcoming council it will be supported, and then we will be given a chance to continue with phase 2 of the negotiations, where specifically we will be negotiating with you our trade agreements and on how we proceed specifically on border control and on trade agreements. And this is, again, up to us to find the best compromise and protecting both interests of UK and the European countries being in the Union. But it is not that we are not letting you go. You are free to go, but there is a price to be paid as a result of that decision, and a price which is, and then the results of that decision, they will be seen, maybe not immediately, but in the years to come in your economic development, for example. On the question of cultural diplomacy, yes, in fact, I do agree that in every conflict, it is first cultural diplomacy tools to be used before really putting more tough measures and efforts. But if the cultural diplomacy instruments are not working, then we will have to be really focused and being tough whenever it is necessary.
Please, Dr. Babuna, from Turkey.
Turkey TV Channel 99. We talked about Turkey's help, of course, because Bulgaria is our sister country. We have so much in common. We love Bulgarians. And I hope one day the passports and visas will be removed also. And with all our neighboring countries and other countries, this is very humanitarian. For the refugees, Turkey accepted 4 million refugees. We can increase this number, it's not a problem. And they came with the blessing of the God. I repeated that before. And 11% is the growth rate of Turkey right now. 4 million refugees, $40 billion were spent, and we still have the growth rate of 11%. This is definitely no explanation but blessing of the God. But in the long term, of course, our aim is to stop the wars and the bloodshed in these countries. This is the only solution. I mean, accepting refugees is, of course, we can do it, but to prevent the refugees, the security in their countries is the most important issue. We love Bulgaria and Bulgarians. Of course, I mean, this is our sister country.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlova.